So let's turn it over to Hanne Winarsky.
Yeah, I'll do a little bio too. I am the head of partnerships at Substack, which means something a little bit different at Substack than you think. It's the I lead the team of people that work with all the top talent across all our different markets, whether that's sports or lifestyle or politics or the UK, and they bring in the top talent that we believe will succeed here and then help them succeed and make sure their Substacks grow as much as possible. So sort of like an in-house agency, almost like working with talent like a manager and helping them, succeed maximally here on Substack. I also was a book editor for many years. I used to be the literature and the art editor at Princeton University Press. I've been an op-ed editor and I've been a podcast producer and host for a biotech venture capital firm. I've had a very weird career, but all of it has always been about helping writers, thinkers, culture makers get their ideas out to the broadest possible audience. So yeah, so that's me in a nutshell. How many of you guys know what Substack is or subscribe to a Substack? Oh, yay. That's fantastic. Somebody tell me who they subscribe to. I'm curious what brought you to Substack.
I'll jump in. Whoops.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the political writers that you can't find in mainstream press anymore are on
Mhm.
Substack. Matt
Like
Taibbi is one of my favorites.
Taibbi, I was gonna guess. Yeah.
He's always been one of my favorites ever since Rolling Stone. I actually
Yeah.
am on Stack. I haven't written anything for a couple of years
Oh,
on there, but I have a few things on Substack too.
fantastic. Somebody give me one more. Sherry, yeah. Oh, you're muted still.
Oh, sorry, I muted. I always just randomly mute people.
Can she talk now?
She can. She's trying to figure out her phone. There's a phone that's
Okay. All right. No worries.
I'm sorry, Sherry.
No problem. Um, so I will do like a two-liner about what Substack is. It sounds like most of you know already. It started as really a newsletter platform where people could publish their writing directly to their audience. And that audience could subscribe or pay them directly as subscribers, both for free and not. So in order to reward the culture maker directly. And that's really what Substack is. It's not so much about writing as it is this model of writers or creators or culture makers of any kind being able to create their content directly for their audience and have that audience value and reward them directly for that. So it's about this direct relationship. Now we've built all these podcasting tools, we've built video, there's all kinds of other content creation that can happen. So it's almost more like setting up a little media outlet where you connect directly in a direct channel to your audience. And at the same time, the Substack network has grown enormously. So there's a lot of value to being a part of that network when you're alongside all these other culture makers and creators. So I thought maybe I could give you guys like a little tour of a few Substacks so that you could see the variety of stuff real quick, whirlwind. And then you guys can just ask me whatever you want to know about like what the best practices are or how to start or anything like that. Does that sound good? We can just like really get into it. Okay, cool. So let me share my screen. I was trying to pull up some good examples while you don't look at my crazy tabs. I have so many tabs, but here's the first one that I figured you guys might know. This is George Saunders. He uses his Substack essentially as a writing group, a writing workshop. So it's called Story Club. And what he does is bring his community together to all talk about writing, the act of writing. He has something called office hours where someone will write in to him and then he responds with all kinds of talk about how his process and like what they're doing. They'll also read books together. These are all different aspects of his writing workshop. So it's a real community. Some of these, whenever you see a little lock symbol like this, it's just for paid subscribers. So that's what it looks like when it's just for paid subscribers. And whenever it's not, then you'll see a post like this. And you'll see here, there's 266. He's got an incredibly active community, people responding to the post. So this is like, it's not really like Medium or WordPress or Tumblr. It's much more interactive because this audience is so kind of wedded to him. They have all subscribed. They're all raising their hand to get this in their inbox. It's a very intimate and direct relationship with your audience, essentially. So that's kind of how George Saunders uses it. These are links to all his books. It's all these, I mean, he's been doing this for a while. It's a very robust community. This is Margaret Atwood. She does it a little more kind of seat of the pants. Everything, you can see everything for Margaret Atwood is paid. And so when she does something, I think it's free momentarily, and then it becomes paid later. But you can see it's like a very multimedia experience, right? You can include lots of images, you can include all kinds of links, embedded videos, everything. And it does tend to be, especially for writers, essayistic, but it's not, you can see the paywall is very low down here. You can put it wherever you like. But it's not very formal. It's more like almost a journal that these writers are keeping with their readers, or like a kind of pen pal relationship. This is Mary Gateskill. She writes sporadically. She does tend to do with this essay style. She often is inspired by something happening in the news and media. And again, people are like weighing in here, and Mary is answering. She actually responds. People love this feeling of being able to talk directly. You're subscribing to your favorite writer, and then you respond. You can comment on them, and they respond to you. So I'm trying. Yeah, Mary has like again, she's in her comments a lot, talking to people. On the other side of the spectrum, you can have like somebody like Patti Smith. Patti Smith uses mainly just video. So she's doing these very casual, she's using her iPhone to do this. And she's sharing with, I mean, she's literally just saying, here I am in Venice. Here's my desk. It's almost more like Instagram for her, like long form Instagram, but in this private space where it's only going to subscribers. I love her, like, let me find one where here's a good one. This is where she just, oh no, she'll like do let's see, like, what's a good video here where she's just talking. Here we go. She'll set up her laptop and she will literally just talk to her laptop and upload this video about whatever's on her mind. This is about reading Blake. So they can be sort of these casual, unscripted posts, but they always feel they have this direct, intimate, organic feeling. And that's what subscribers are usually coming for. The last example I wanted to show you, this, I can't remember who was saying that they were thinking about their family epigenetics and getting over that. And that's what made me think of Liz Goldwyn. This is what her Substack is all about. She's like, it's almost more like a writerly diary than it is a magazine piece. And the idea is to like open up this kind of conversation with your audience and put something into it on a regular basis across all those range of things. So all of these people have a little bit of a different concept of what you can see. They're all like almost miniature media outlets where they're doing a kind of a thing, and then they're like playing around with it and experimenting in different ways, seeing what subscribers respond to. They have all different monetization strategies. You can make everything free. You could make everything paid. You can do some version of both. We generally think it's good practice to make your best material free, because that's how people find you and fall in love with you. You want to make free the stuff that will travel and get shared. And then the kind of paid tends to be the backstage pass, the VIP stuff, the like more intimate stuff, or the archives, or the syllabuses if it's a class, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's a whirlwind tour of like a range of different stuff. You also can do podcasting, but I didn't want to overwhelm you. What do you guys think? What comes to mind? What questions does it make you wonder about? Yes,
I've
Sherry.
got a question. Oh, go Sherry.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Tim. Yeah.
Sherry, you're still muted and we haven't figured that one out yet with your phone. So Sherry, if you can unmute, I'll do a quick question. So what happens if you're not famous? I mean, everyone that you showed us are pretty well known. Does it work better if you're dealing with more general subjects then, like say mine might be recovery? Or would that work better for a subscriber, or are people?
Well, let me show you. So, okay. So here's what the network does for you. So I would say you don't, it helps. Of course it helps to be famous because you have an existing platform, right? So you go out and tell all that audience, this is what I'm going to do. But that is not the case for all writers on Substack. So there are people who are completely homegrown Substack stars. And the thing that you need to do in that case is to basically just have a regular cadence, the hardest job, right? Of having a regular cadence of putting out good content. That is the hardest thing to do. But if you can do that and you plug into our network in smart ways, you will get a lot of readers just from being in part of this ecosystem. And one way that happens, I'll show you some of what happens here. So this is, and I can show you the back end of this because this is my colleague, Farah. She is the head of the UK partnerships. So she lets us show her Substack. So she started a Substack when she started at in this job. And she did have some followers. She had about, I would say she had like 20,000 followers across on Instagram. So that was here. So she started here. She told all her Instagram followers she was doing this, but then she's just been publishing over time. And here's what it looks like in terms of like every post. So every post, somebody will share it. Somebody will, she does a good job of publicizing it in the places where she does have an audience. She forwards it to the people in her email that she thinks would like it's a manual process, but you're just every time getting more and more subscribers. And the thing that's interesting about the subscriber relationship is because it's not like an algorithm where you're seeing stuff and the winds of the algorithm change and you may or may not get a bunch of readers. These readers really care. They stick around, right? So you're getting this kind of like upwards curve. And the way a lot of that happens is through something called recommendations. So Substack's answer to that algorithm is basically writers and culture makers recommending each other. So here on Farah's page, you can see these are the publications that she recommends to her readers. And on the back end, that's what this looks like. So all of those other Substacks that are recommending her are driving tons of subscriptions to her, because every time somebody signs up for one of these, the hyphen by Emma Gannon, it says Emma Gannon also recommends Farah Store, things worth knowing. Do you want to also sign up for that? So a lot of subscribers come from that. You can see these are how many she's generated for other people. The other way that you can get good discovery is in the Substack ecosystem. There's something called notes. So this is my inbox. And basically here's all the things I subscribe to up top. Here's all the new posts. This is my inbox. If I want to see only posts, I subscribe to a bajillion people. And then I didn't even show you guys this. This is chat. These are the private chat, almost like a WhatsApp thread of the writers when they decide they want to do that as part of their publication. So back to here, this is our kind of like feed, the way that Twitter has a feed, the way that Instagram has a feed. This is Substack's feed, where everyone that I subscribe to shows up in here in whatever way they're active in the Substack universe. So I subscribe to Christina Loff. She liked this post, and therefore it's showing up in my feed. It's always based on like an actual interaction with something that you have subscribed to. So it's high likelihood that you will like or find interesting things in this universe. So if you are publishing good content and you're kind of interacting with other people and you're liking other posts and you're maybe talking to other people in this space, you're also going to get growth from that network. You'll get exposure to other readers that are very likely to like what you're doing because they're related to you in a kind of genealogy of subscribers, if that makes sense. So it's obviously it's easier if you have 100,000 Twitter followers or 1 million, Instagram followers or some existing online audience, but it doesn't. George Saunders actually did not. He was not on social media. People, of course, knew who he was, right? He had a huge following, but he did not have like an immediately convertible audience. It's the hardest thing is putting the good stuff in the pipe every week. And then if you're kind of regularly sharing it and building connections to other people in this universe, you will get growth from that.
Hanne, I have a question. This is a wonderful presentation, by the way, and so thank you very much.
Oh, my pleasure.
Yes,
You guys are doing the interesting stuff.
Yeah, something that, well, Tim touched on the idea of celebrity first being sort of a launching pad and an advantage. When you're an unknown, of course, you have to prove to people, you have to earn that right to that, gravitas. So, also, I wanted to know that it appears that that Substack can move easily. You can move content pretty easily between, say, WhatsApp. Can you also do that with LinkedIn as well?
Yeah, so we don't move it. That's our chat. That's literally our chat. It looks a lot like WhatsApp, but it's our chat space in the Substack universe. So the goal is always for us to bring as many people into your universe here and keep them here, because here is where they're subscribing to you or paying you. It's the best place to capture everything else, right? So the people who do a really good job of this share every post on LinkedIn and say, if you like this, come over here to my Substack. Same with Instagram. They post something in stories, or they might talk about what the process, hey, I'm so excited I did this new thing, come over here. And so they're using those other spaces to push people into the subscriber universe where it's the most sticky and the most valuable, because there people are totally married to you.
If I could just buy another vowel, I will. Aside from the monetization, which is really important to take a look at because of Substack, and I do subscribe to Joyce Vance and other political writers.
Right. Yeah.
I like Patty Smith's stuff because it's very simple.
Yeah.
Easy. What was my train of thought? I'll come back to it. Why don't you just go to another question and I'll try and remember what I was going to say. Thanks.
Sherry, yay, unmuted.
Yeah, I moved to my computer, so now I'm operative. I actually have a Substack. I've had the Substack now for, I think it's been 2 or 3 years.
Great.
And it's free. It's free for a number of reasons, because one, I can't figure out how to make it paid. I can't
Mm.
figure out how to even buy me a coffee, and I can't figure out how to put up a firewall where somebody can start to read it and then, get to, I want to read more, but then have to pay. So
Mhm.
I'll put that in one
Well,
bucket.
separately, I can connect you with our support team if you want to send me an email and they can
Thank
walk
you.
you
I
through
would
that.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Then the next part of it is, and the support team would be helpful because that would answer another question. I have varied content on my umbrella Substack, where most of it is kind of memoir-esque and personal narrative-esque because that's kind of my forte. But I also do other writings. I do poetry. I'm a yoga teacher by profession, so I put out yoga content. I have a fictional type archetype character, and I have these little he's called Grouch Pout. So I have these little fictional essays on Grouch Pout and other content on my Substack. There's no, if you would say there's no category, I just put it out there. So, people read it, but there's no table of contents, if you will. So it just,
Right.
when I put it out, and I don't put it out often. I don't write as often as I should. That's another thing. So then going to the chat and the notes, what would you then recommend for, say, chats and notes, if I wanted to really begin to make more use of chats and notes? Because, for instance, I actually have political interests. I mean, I could say quite a bit if I really wanted to open that side of myself up, which is, might not be unusual or could be unusual to my
Yeah.
readers. I mean, would I or could I, maybe
Yeah.
watch the debate and say, wow, make a comment or
Totally.
something of
So,
that nature?
yeah.
I
I think
mean,
they're two different spaces and you should think of them for two different purposes. So chat is for speaking to your existing community. So a
okay.
lot of politics writers will say like, I'm doing a live chat on debate night, like get in there and let's talk about it, or whatever. Fashion week, like what do we think about this show? But it's speaking to your existing subscribers in a more closed kind of personal way.
Okay, got it.
Notes is a public thing where you're sharing some little thought or public kind of statement. So there I would think of it like short-term short experimental stuff. Like if you wanted to make a little comment about a post that you read by Joyce Vance, or you have a thought about debate night, but it's not your usual kind of thing.
Sort of like, oh, did he have to lose his temper or something like
Yeah,
that?
exactly. Yeah.
Whatever it
And
was.
I also think it's
Right.
a really good space to interact with other writers that you admire in a very light way. Like you might share a post that you read by somebody and they'll know that you did, right? So they'll be curious if it works the way we hope it does. They'll be like, "Oh, Sherry, who's this writer Sherry, that like shared my post and made a smart comment about it. She's cool. Maybe I'll respond to her. Maybe I'll, so you start to get like build connections. So I would encourage you to comment on other people's posts. That then surfaces your work to all of those subscribers. Say you want, if you comment on Joyce Vance's post, it'll show up in her feed for all of her subscribers.
So I need to actually work Substack more as a job by reading more people's posts more often and make that a kind of like a daily part of my day so I can begin to become more active within the Substack community. The same way I'm wasting I don't want to say wasting, but spending time on Facebook just browsing and cruising. I should be putting that energy into Substack because Substack would eventually generate revenue for me if I really wanted to.
Yes, and at least growth, like exposure and growth, like it's gonna get smart readers noticing your work. And the best way to do it is the app. It's if you download the app,
I have the app on my phone. Yeah.
So I heard some of Eric's questions. So you're recommending you keep your social media stuff and point it to Substack. What about when you're doing a podcast through Substack? Is the podcast become available, say, on the regular podcast channels as well?
Yes. So do you guys want to see what a podcast looks like real
Sure.
quick, or is that too much of a detour? Okay.
Please, if you have time.
Yeah, no, I've got until 11. So hold on here. I'll share like this. So this woman is really interesting Substack case study because she's got a great story. She started like 3 years ago. She was trying to shop around a cookbook and no one was interested. She's a young mother. She lives in Carmel. She didn't have much of a following or a name and no one was interested. Every cookbook publisher turned her down. So she came to Substack. She started publishing on Substack. She has a very heavy paid strategy, which in the beginning we were all like, you shouldn't do that because she paywalls so much. But I think in food world, it works because people want the recipe, basically. Anyways, so she started with a very traditional newsletter. Now it's expanded. She has a vibrant chat. She does a bunch of notes. She has a recipe index, all this stuff. She also launched a podcast. So here's what a podcast looks like on Substack. If you can do audio only, but she does video. So she uploads one video.
Nobody else who would pick up our.
I will mute this. And the video, she records it using like Riverside, which is a common tool. It's really easy. So the video gets uploaded here. The audio gets immediately stripped out. She does nothing and it goes to all these other places. So here it's showing up just as an audio only podcast. In Substack land, you get the video as well. You get the whole post, which you can see is very different from show notes on podcast. It's much more robust. Here's all this stuff I talk about. Here's all this cool stuff. Here's these recipes I refer to. Here's all the comments of people responding when they're listening to the podcast episode. Oh, I love this. I love these, blah, blah, blah. And then here's the most interesting thing. I think this is a very future. We've like pushed podcasting totally into the future, which I love as a former podcaster. You can press this little clippy thing and you get an automatically generated AI transcript that can show up for subscribers if you want, but you can also create these clips, these video and audio clips that you can download. You can push them to Instagram. We're about to automatically integrate them with YouTube. You can put them wherever you want, and so can your readers. Your readers can also create clips and share them. So I think it's like turning podcast into this like multimedia community experience in a really cool way.
Cool.
And it's like one-stop shop and you get a whole website basically for your podcast. So there's a number of Substacks now that are coming that are podcast first. They're just podcasts basically. So this is one that came over from Patreon recently, and you can see they upload their whole episode here.
To the afters.
And it's going to all these places, and it's only for paid subscribers. So all kinds of different monetization again around podcasts like that.
Does Substack offer support or advice? In other words, you said that you thought everything was behind the paywall. You guys didn't think that was a good idea. Are you able to, or are people in your team able to meet with content developers?
We do, to be very blunt, we do it for top writers. Like we do it for people who are, because we can't do it for everybody. We're a team of, my team is 14 people. So our general line is for people that we believe are going to make a lot of money on Substack, obviously, because we're a business. We make money when you guys make money. That's how it works. Or they're very high influence. Like Margaret Atwood had a person on my team a long time before she turned on paid, because we know people pay attention and it's good marketing. There are a number of resources. There's a whole team called Partner Success that's about taking the advice that my team has like figured out by working with people directly, and they scale it to a larger group of writers. And that like is sort of this middle tier. If you're not just self-serving resources on the website, there are a lot of resources on the website that you can look up, but there is kind of scaled personal support as well that has strategy woven into it. Like,
Let's
I'll
go.
piggyback a little bit on Tim's question, but also to veer off a bit. I guess the philosophical point is how much effort, time does it really take for someone to create this brand as opposed to, well, I say opposed, in integrating your art. Okay. I mean, because we're artists, right? So what's been your take on that? What's been your experience that, do people feel that this thing is now a life of its own, or do they have to find some kind of balance?
What a great question. On the first part, I feel like it's sort of two questions that you're asking, one about finding a brand and a voice, and two about like work-life balance. Is that right? Or are they the same? Okay. So on the finding a brand, I think the best thing you can do is have a strong, clear voice. That's it. Like people want to know more than anything else, they are subscribing to a thought universe. They don't really care how Mary Gateskill describes what her newsletter is. They just want to know what Mary is thinking about whether JD Vance or like, Dostoevsky. So I think it's like Heather Cox Richardson, for example. I don't know how many of you know her, but like she made zero effort to create any kind of brand. She just did her thing, right? She just did this historical analysis of politics every day. And that became the brand because it was so clear what it was. And now she has an enormous brand, right? That is defined just by the content. The work-life balance thing, we do have a lot of writers struggle with it. It's getting better now that there's so many tools to do a light organic thing, and that it's becoming clear that in this universe, subscribers also really like that. We haven't heard it as much as in the early days when there was this perception that you had to like write a fully formed essay every, 2 times a week. Like that's really hard. But when you can write maybe an article and then you can also do a chat, or you could share some of a snippet of something with some thoughts on your mind. Like it's getting easier to, I think, keep putting little breadcrumbs into this direct pipe with your subscribers, and they're happy if you're just sharing your thought universe. But it's hard, it's like anything else in life. Like the more you put into it, the more you're going to get out. So the more you invest in it, the more you'll grow and the more your subscribers will pay you, if that's, and definitely once you turn on paid, you have a kind of contract, right, with your audience, and you're promising them a certain kind of thing. So
thanks for answering a sort of difficult question. And I guess it only goes if you push it, is really
it only goes if, just like everything else, it is easier here than other places because of this incredibly powerful network and the tools that we've built. I think I really do believe that. But the hardest thing is just like dedication to your craft. as we all know. Yeah.
I feel like, I don't want to take up all the oxygen, but this question comes up on podcasts. Does the Substack have plans to create its own studio and its own brand of podcasting with all tools, or will you rely on third party to do that? And
it's funny that you say that. We're because that's something I'm thinking about right now. We have experimented with our own podcast in the past. Hamish McKenzie, our co-founder, did one for a while. Our CEO has one right now. He's doing it just for fun, to experiment with the product and to talk to interesting people. We could do something like that again in the future. We're unlikely to create a branded channel of content because we are not a publisher, right? We are a platform and an ecosystem. So we generally don't choose like, this is going to be a Substack podcast. You would like a network. We're not doing that. We're not paying people to make content for us. And we also don't want to curate from the ecosystem a strong point of view. We're trying to allow it to be as broad and diverse as possible. But there's an interesting question about helping creators make their content, where just the same way we give advice, perhaps we could figure out a way to like help people with production in certain ways and things like that. And that's something I'm thinking about right now. We'll do it sometimes for some high potential podcasts in creative ways. But we don't put it as our brand. We're putting their brand first. We're just helping them. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yep, thanks.
Does Substack ever
Hold on,
prohibit?
I hate to be to put my moderator hat here, but Barbara's been raising her hand for 15 minutes. I wanted to get her in.
I'll be real
Not
quick.
that.
Real quick. My first question is there I think most people charge like $5 a subscription. I just want to know, is that standard? Can it be less? Can it be more? And then my second question is, I talk mostly about grief, suicide, mental health, substance abuse disorder. Are those popular topics on there, or is that less popular?
Yeah. Popular is a funny word in this universe because what it is all about is finding your audience, right? For your thing. You could have a finance person publishing trading advice and charging $2,500 a year and nothing is free. And then you could have a pop culture writer talking about reality TV for $5 a month and everything is free and people only pay because they like it, because they want to show support. So there's a huge range. On the pricing thing, a lot of people do this $5 or $6 a month because that feels so easy to, it's a low ask. It's a cup of coffee a month, like we say, it's very minimal. The business and tech people go a little higher. Any actionable advice tends to go higher. Finance is the highest category for paid. Some podcasts, depending on how much premium content you're offering, is also a thing that would change how much you offer, right? Like if you're producing a whole premium episode once a week, you're going to charge more for your subscribers and they're getting value out of it. In terms of your specific subject, I think we do see a lot of sort of like health and wellness, very broadly understood, everything from like parenting and like social media and mental health to like actual wellness and nutrition. And there's like a huge universe there. That sobriety, we kind of put that all under this big umbrella. And that's a very interesting growing market for us for sure. It looks like it's doing well. People are interested, people are paying. There's a lot more publications popping up. I actually am trying to hire somebody right now to be dedicated to partnerships in that market.
All right, Chris is next. Chris has made cancer popular, by the way.
Making cancer popular. So one of the things I love about Substack is that it takes in writers that have been kicked off other platforms. So my question to you is, how does Substack moderate content?
Nope, we do not. And that's a spicy question. A lot of people don't like that answer, and a lot of people love that answer. We do have a line. The line is we try to adhere to the First Amendment. Yes, we do not have to because we are a private company, but we choose to adhere to that line. We believe strongly in the freedom of speech as defined by the First Amendment. So the line for us is incitement of violence and trolling or doxing. That is like not acceptable. But we believe that the answer to that social media has created an incredibly divisive and problematic model for our entire society. It's clearly making things worse, not better. So trying to moderate anything, we think, is continuing down that road where you're kind of following same to same, and there's a game around attention, right? The things that incite certain kinds of reactions or fear or get more attention do better and enforce those messages. So our answer to that is the subscription model. Our belief is that that's a better way of cleaning up the information ecosystem cesspool that social media has delivered to us, and that in order for that to succeed, you have to have an incredible variety of content, and that we live in a democracy, and that it needs to be, you know, every town is going to have a snake oil salesman. You need to allow all of that, and the subscribers will find and reward the content that they choose to believe in.
Thank you.
Basically.
Love that. Thanks.
I have a
Right.
question. Did you know it's my birthday? I'm just kidding. That's not my question.
Happy birthday. Is it true?
I'm curious about what you do. Can you
Same.
explain a little bit
Happy
about
birthday to
what your responsibilities are?
Yeah,
At Substack?
my job is I'm largely a manager. I'm like I'm one of the senior leaders at the company, and I lead the team of, we call it partnerships, but it's all the people that work directly with the talent, the top talent. So the way that looks is everyone is tasked with a market. So I have a head of the UK and EU. I have a head of politics. I have a head of finance and business. I have a head of lifestyle. There's some, in some of those markets, there's people underneath them for health and wellness and things like that, the smaller markets that are growing fast. And the way I think about it is each of those people is obsessed with, how do I own a corner of the internet and make the world a better place for all the culture makers in this category. So my head of lifestyle is like, not only is she trying to recruit, you know, Gwyneth Paltrow and Bobby Brown and like interesting kind of new types of people that can show what Substack is capable of, but she's also like hosting little dinner parties to create evangelists, make sure that all those people that are on Substack love us and are telling all their friends. She's also thinking, she's doing public things. Should they do master classes sort of like this for groups of writers? You know, they're thinking about talent acquisition, organic marketing, and basically growth. Like, how do I take finance on Substack to the next level?
That's great. This has been awesome having you here today. So thank you so much for joining us.
I love it. This is like what, I mean, you guys, I'm so happy all of you know what Substack is. I'm so happy a bunch of you are actually doing it. It's like, this is why we built this and what we're here for. This is what gets us going in the morning.
Okay, we've got 8 minutes, so you know, people have some burning questions, but who made those wonderful brooms behind you, by the way?
Oh, actually I did, as you know, Tim.
All right, so besides you know, buying a week at Star Island and cornering Hanne on her vacation, how can people get in touch with you? Can you post any contact
Yeah, I can
information?
share my email. I'll put it right here.
Yeah, and that
I
was
can't promise you individual strategy advice, but I can connect you with Partner Success, who does help with that kind of thing. So yeah.
All right, Karen, we got a question.
Yeah, thanks. I've been wanting to ask this one. And I know this comes up with a lot of publications that have paywalls or subscriptions. People have suggested, and I've wondered, has Substack ever considered allowing writers to offer articles that are paid by the article as a way for people to get, who are interested but aren't ready to commit to subscribing yet, but they also if we don't want to offer our content completely free, that might be a middle ground to have like a few dollars for initial articles, and then people can decide.
Yeah, we have considered it, and it's something that keeps coming up every once in a while, and we poke around and look at data and think about it. And the place we always land is like that above all, we want to optimize for the most secure recurring revenue for you. And there's a funny thing that happens where like when people pay one time, they treat it like a tip jar sort of, and then they feel like entitled to everything and they don't want to keep paying. Whereas if you sign up one time for $5 and then you're getting continuous value, you actually feel better. It seems like you pay, you're much more likely to continue paying, obviously. And like, it's better to get to sort of bite that bullet to get to just that level and allow people to have the free stuff enough to convince them to do that is higher, better revenue for the culture makers and writers. And so that, and it every time we look at data around pricing, it feels like people actually treat Substack more like a luxury good than a necessity, meaning they don't feel like it's expensive. They're happy to do it. It feels like a treat for them. It's very price resist, like doesn't feel like raising prices tends to hurt people very much. It's like people feel that there's good value in this, and it's pretty resilient. So we still have just kept that as our North Star. Get people over that hump to actually subscribe to you in a continuous way, because that's what people make livings out of, right? If you want to actually be doing this as a real living and get to a sustainable salary, you need that kind of recurring revenue. It's not just like $2 at a time.
So this is, do you recommend this strategy? Because this strategy is something that just I don't like. When someone presents like half an article and says, if you want to read the rest of it, subscribe. Is that a recommendation, or is that like a red flag on your end?
So I think, like I said, I think you always want your best content, unless, you know, special cases like finance and trading advice and stuff like that aside. But like, for people who are trying to grow, having your best content free is the best marketing that you can have out in the world, right? So I don't think when you're trying to grow and gain an audience, you should be I would call that aggressively paywalling. On the other hand, when you do any kind of paid content, so say you have like your best stuff free, but you're doing some special paid content. I have a doctor who does like a Q&A, and she gets audience questions and then she'll answer the questions. And there, I think the paywall is more about showing the value of the paid content. So you should always be doing that, right? It shouldn't be the paid content only goes to paid people. You want to show it off to the free people too. So I'd say, I think it's like two different kinds of content. If you're doing something paid behind a paywall, it should be the VIP or the special access or the more intimate connection stuff. But in those cases, you should show it off with a preview. And and the best stuff that's going to travel out in the world should be all the way free. That's like everyone is different, but that's sort of the most common advice.
All right. Any other questions before we wrap it up?
So quickly then on that idea, you kind of preview a bit, which is almost like a paywall. You kind of preview a bit of a paid piece or a paid podcast or whatever that paid content may be, and just give it a snippet and then say, this is for paid subscribers. You know, you kind of have like however it's separated out or something. And that would be a tech thing.
It's just a wall. It's just a line. And above the line is free, and below the line it says.
Which is still the paywall, which is still the paywall, which is still what Tim said that he doesn't like, where you read it and then bang, it stops.
Well, the alternative is you don't have any preview, and you can do that. You can just have it go entirely just to paid subscribers, and the free won't see it at all. So you can do it like that, but the thing that tends to happen when you do it like that is the paid people are happy, you're like giving them fun stuff over here, and the free people are happy, they're giving them fun stuff over here, but you're not converting the free into paid on a regular basis.
Right. And then how do you separate the two? Like, how do the free people know this even exists? Like,
that's why the preview is good, to show them the paid content that exists. So you could use it sparingly, you could use it not at all, you could use it every time. That's a judgment call for every writer. But it's like, the concept is you don't want them to, it's easy to think about them as two walled gardens. They become two walled gardens, free over here, paid over here. So if you're doing a good job of like kind of thinking about your own growth and marketing, you're thinking, how do I expose the free people to this private world often enough that they want to come join it?
Right, exactly.
All right, I believe that we're out of time, but I want to thank the visitors of our group, which are Karen, Renata,
Thank
and
you so,
Stevie
so
Collins.
much.
And
My
thank you,
pleasure.
thank you, thank you, thank you so much.
My pleasure, my pleasure. I love it. And it's so nice to see you, Tim.
You too. And also, if you, I'm going to post this, or you can email me or message me if you want a copy. If there are some things you missed or want to review again on the video, I'll be happy to send you the clip.
Yes, please. I want to thank you, Hanna, and thank you, everyone else. Thank you for.
Thank you, Hannah. Thank you so much.
I'm
Thank
so glad. Yeah, I'm gonna go
Wonderful.
find all your Substacks and
Wonderfully
check them
done.
out.
Thank you.
Yep, bye.
Thank you.
Cool stuff, eh?
It's
Very.
fantastic.
That was
This
great.
is-
Oh
this is
yeah,
great.
it definitely put me in a
Tim,
different
thank you so
space.
much. We don't get to say it often enough, so thank you.
Thank
was
you.
awesome.
This was
That was awesome.
fantastic.
Thank you, Tim.
I mean, I have
Thank
to
you very
rewatch
much.
this and she was fantastic.
Yeah.
What, Renata?
Good
I just,
going.
I apologize for being late. I was here at 11 and I got confused today, but thank you so much for this. It's new information to me, so it's very helpful. Thank you.
Ideas are all good.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Gotta go, guys, but thank you. Thank you and have a wonderful weekend. Bye.
And
Have a great birthday, Ray.
Yeah, Ray, happy
Birthday,
birthday.
Ray. Happy
Happy
Thanks,
birthday.
everybody.
Happy birthday. Stay away from those alligators.
Crocodiles.
Hey, CD.
Yeah.
Oh, Ray was supposed to stay on with me and he's gone.
Oh. This was great. Thank you, Timmy. I'm gonna contact her. She's
Yeah, she may not be able to give you individual stuff, but yeah, I got
yeah,
to.
no, but she can pass me on and she's great. She's great. I mean, she's great. And it's funny, some of the people that she was showing as examples, I actually subscribe to.
Yeah, they're probably their most popular. Yeah, I actually had. She was a Star Island person I met there, and you know, I got to play. She's a really good musician and singer, so we got to play
Just
together.
really, yeah, just thank you so much for this. But
You're
I'll
welcome.
let you guys, I know he's back to whatever, so I'm gonna go off.
This is
and-
part of my paywall. This is why Ray subscribes. So
Thank
I
you,
can
thank you. I'll
Exactly,
see
meet
you
with them
guys, I'll see you guys
afterwards.
next
All
week.
right, all
Okay,
right.
bye.
Bye-bye.
Hi, CD.
Boy, when those royalty checks start rolling in, we're gonna be in high cotton, Tim.
Those are pretty. Those are pretty famous writers that popped in, by the way.
Nice. Really?
Yeah,
Very cool.
like Karen Lesser and CD Collins are very well-known writers.
Nice. Yeah, you said to keep you posted. So basically I spent the week writing a character profile for the killer and then pages and pages of different scenarios. And here's what I came up with. I'm adding a character, Paula's father, who was swindled in a land deal and it mentally and financially broken. And so fast forward to Paula in high school at an environmental protest. So that's how she got started hating developers and that kind of thing. She's at a protest. She meets Sloan, who is almost 20 years older than her. He basically charms her, offers to pay for her tuition to go to FSU. That's how she winds up there, starts the affair. Wife finds out. He has to ship her back down to South Florida, but says, don't worry, I'll take care of you, and continues the affair. And also has hashed on this idea to sort of radicalize her. So goes to the father and confesses that he was actually a part of the group that swindled him out of his land. And says, but I'm here to make good, pretends to be very, apologetic, and I'm here to make good and I want to help you, but you got to help me. I need you to help me turn Paula to the dark side, and go ahead.
How are you going to infuse that in the book?
I have no idea.
Do you want an idea?
Yeah, sure.
And the other thing too is, are you going to keep her as the killer?
Yes.
Okay. So here's what I think. You have a section in the beginning before the book even begins and make it very general, not necessarily specific.
Like a prologue?
Yes. and you're introducing it's just Sloane and Paula, and they don't appear again in the book until they appear in the book.
Okay.
Like, so you have like their side story and the affair. You may not even you may want to very loosely use their names. Like, don't introduce the character. Hi. Like, don't.
Oh.
No, it's happy birthday. So what you do is, like, you're not introducing the character the way you'd normally introduce them. You just
Right.
pop into the middle of the scene, almost like a flash fiction. Like
Okay.
like the opening sentence is almost, he sent her back to Florida.
Right.
So you're going, who?
Okay.
So you want to almost create this mystery almost in the prologue.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
so
I've been tackling it one thing at a time, and just today, just this morning, I sat down and wrote out the timeline of this particular part of the relationship. And so then I was going to go back with my book timeline and figure out how to kind of shoehorn in the details. But so she becomes radicalized, and she's she's still taking care of her despondent father, who is secretly taking money from Sloane. She starts this killing rampage. Her dad is getting so bad that she moves him to the lost city where all the animals are. And she's cleaning out his place, and she finds evidence of the fact that Sloane has been paying him. She confronts the dad. He confesses, and she feeds him to the panther right there in the lost city.
okay.
And is enraged to the point where she's like, you know what? I'm not just going to kill the governor. I'm going to kill Sloane too. So she gets a hold of Sloane the night before. He comes down early. He comes down the day before. So I've got to take him off the plane with the governor going down there. But he comes down the night before, looks at the wilderness center, make sure everything okay, and then secretly meets with Paula, who says that she's getting very nervous about going through with this. And throughout the book, I've been dropping sort of ADHD suggestions for Sloane. I haven't, but I will. And he's on Adderall or Benzodrine or whatever, uppers. And so he pulls a bottle out of his pocket at their meeting and says, here, why don't you take a couple of these, okay? She takes the capsules out, puts the lid back on, hands it to him. Then the next day, and then there we pick up the story with everything, okay? Sloane sees Cam arrive. He knows his plan has gone awry. He starts getting nervous. As he flees, he takes the bottle out and pops a couple of the pills. She has swapped the pills in the bottle for capsules that are full of fugu poison from the fugu puffer fish, which is endangered. And
How does she get access at the wilderness? She get access at the wilderness reserve there, or
from the puffer fish to the puffer fish?
Yeah.
Puffer fish are easy to catch. They're all over coastal Florida. They're actually really easy to catch.
Ah, okay.
They're
That's
annoying
why
to catch.
endangered. Okay.
They're annoying to catch because even if you handle them, you could die. It's called dextrotoxin, I think is what the poison that they have in them, and it can kill you inside of 20 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and he's taking a huge dose. So he gets in a car, tries to escape, goes into seizure, drives off the road and dies. So I'm actually killing off Sloane now instead of letting him get away.
That's great. I think, yeah, he deserves to die. So yeah, I think you introduce the characters in epilogue and then you kind of fill in the blanks there, but like
Okay.
less than 1,000 words. If you
Epilogue wise, you mean?
Yeah, in the very beginning, if you can get their relationship.
Oh, the prologue. You're talking about the prologue.
Prologue, yeah. If you can get their relationship and all of that in less than 1,000 words, and then you can kind of feed it through the book.
Okay.
Like make it a little story that stands on its own.
Okay.
And maybe the story is how she got sent back to Florida.
Okay. Okay, cool. Great. So yeah, that was I didn't really make progress till I sat down and just started writing. And I wrote, I wrote, I
God,
wrote.
it's amazing how that happens.
Incredible. So I haven't gotten the other book. I haven't finished the draft that I want to send to you and Barbara, but I will eventually. But I want to work on this too because I'm kind of hot on it. So
Look at this beauty.
so that's been your background.
Yeah, I mean, look, I can actually affix it to my face. So like the nose is actually my face.
Oh my God. That's awesome. That should be your author picture on the back of the book.
I should definitely do like some sort of.
Oh, that's a Facebook post right there.
Yeah, I should do this.
I love it. I love it. All right. Thanks for all your help with this, man. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's good stuff.
And yeah, keep you posted. The only part the only unplausible part I'm still worried about was, how do we know that he's not going to take those pills before he gets there? And, but I'm suspending disbelief right there.
Chris Joseph, by the way, is hilarious. He's texting me throughout this presentation. And when Eric was thanking me, Chris writes, "Can you give Eric a full hour next Friday to thank you?"
Hey, and while you're at it, add Sherry to that. Oh my God.
Well, we were talking about how Sherry never gets to the question, but Barbara asked when Barbara's question hit, I could tell she was fighting back a smile because I messaged her and it said, that should be the name of your Substack, making substance abuse and suicide popular. And she's like Barbara's like trying
Hey,
not.
and by the way, speaking of titles, why is the name of Margie's book not Sex, Drugs, and Triathlons?
That's a better title.
That is a much better title. But yeah, Sherry needs like the playoff music. You need to get like a little kind of John Barry thing, to just kind of hit the button when she's after 30 seconds.
Well, Zoom should offer like a fading mute.
Yeah.
Instead of a hard mute. It slowly gets.
She's getting farther and farther away.
with playoff music kind of building, and that'd be actually a great idea.
Yeah.
But it seems like Substack seems great, but it seems like a lot of work to get it going.
That kept running through my head. I was glad Eric asked that question because that kept running through my head. I'm like, oh my God, that's like that plant in Little Shop of Horrors,
So like, is it a guarantee for someone like me? I think I could make it work, but I don't know if I have the time to, delve 3 months into the product of it.
I'm not a prolific enough writer to manage something like that. I gotta have a few books under my belt first, I think.
Well, I mean, what about just instead of writing, I think just offering video takes. I mean, that's all right. I gotta run.
All right, brother. Thanks again.
You're welcome. Have a great birthday.
Thanks.
All right, bye-bye.